Good evening, everybody. Welcome to your Friday night edition of Not Another Rangers podcast. And it's the evening after the night before when Rangers fell to the seventh, yeah, we'll say that a couple of times, seventh consecutive defeat in Europe for one of the first times, one of the worst Scottish records going, with a meek 2-0 defeat to Roma last night. So I think I watched something earlier on that said that January was something like the game against January was the longest undefeated run in Europe, and this is the worst losing run in Europe. So to discuss last night's game, the events off the pitch, in terms of protests, tifos and all those sort of things, and look at the state of the squad, or the lack of squad, as well as previewing the D game at Dens Park on Sunday. I'm delighted to be joined by William from, was it Hands Across the Water, not the Northern Ireland Bear Show? I always try to remember that title. How are you, William?
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for having us on, buddy, and nice to see you, Ricky, and listeners as well. Just wish we were a bit more positive, but we'll do our best, I'm sure.
So William obviously usually does a show on a Friday night at 6 o'clock, but he could not face doing it twice, so that's why he wasn't on earlier. I'm assuming that wasn't the reason, William, was it? But I'm sure you'd been too much of a glutton for punishment to talk about it 2 times over the last couple of hours.
Once is enough. I was going to try and do it with a couple, and then somebody pulled out, and I tried to get you guys on. It was too late, and then I thought I can't sit there by myself and talk about this, so I'll just wait until I'm with Ricky and Gary, and I'll do a therapy session with you guys.
Yeah. And hopefully it will be that. I'm not saying it with positive, but it will be some elements of therapy. Do you want to give a wee quick plug to your podcast just now, William, in case I forget later on in the show?
Yeah, if anyone if you don't know who we are, we're Hands Across the Water from Northern Ireland, the only Rangers podcast based over here. So if you want to watch us, we'll be on there mostly Monday nights. And if you Hands Across the Water, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and the YouTube. And we always have Gary. So Gary's been on a few times with us. So Scott, we're still trying to get Ricky on. But you're more than welcome. And as I say, we have a great friendship here with Not Another Rangers podcast, and I'm glad that we help each other out in nights like this when we need someone to chat to.
The problem is we're getting Ricky on. It's because you're on at 6 o'clock at night. It's not after the watershed yet, so that he's potentially not allowed on in case he gets you into trouble. That could be the case.
Is that right? That's very true. And also, I've got young kids, so 6 o'clock's very difficult for me because my house is like the Tasmanian Devils. It's absolute madness. So 8:30 works for me with podcasts and stuff like that. But 6 to 8:30, I could go in a darkened room, and that's what Rangers are doing to us. This is going to be a therapy session, boys. That's for sure. But I will get on at some point. I'm sure. I'm looking forward. I watch the pod all the time, William. You do a great job, you and Baz. You get different guests on. It's very entertaining. So keep up the good work, mate. I really enjoy the pod, watching it. Mondays, especially Mondays, I try and catch it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ricky. I appreciate that, mate.
Ricky commands too high a fee for William. I'm sure that's not the case. I mean, Ricky does it for the love of it.
It's 12:30 where I am, mate. That's how much I dedicate to this podcast. I'm 4 hours ahead of you guys now, man, and I've got to talk about this shitty football team.
And obviously we were on Sunday night after the Old Firm game. Ricky, you voluntarily took yourself out of the equation because you're an angry man and thought it wasn't the right time to come on and talk about that game. Now you've calmed down 5 days later. Before I'll give you a chance to give your thoughts on that before we delve into the more current Rangers stuff.
I'm not going to go into it too much, mate. I thought the players are quite lucky. I think the refereeing decisions took a lot of the heat off of them because I thought they were absolutely pathetic for the first 45 minutes. I thought Celtic could have been 3-0 up and they probably would have deserved that at half time. And I thought the players got off very, very lightly because of the usual incompetence from these referees. They've came out today and said that the trustees should have been sent off, which is an absolute nonsense. It's every single month now. Apology to Rangers. It's getting very, very annoying. But all I'll say is I think the players got off very lightly because there were rabbits in the headlights again, Gary, in that first half. Celtic wanted it more. They were faster to the ball. They were winning second balls. Everything that should be basics again. This team just absolutely failed once again in a big game. We've not beat Celtic in a big game for years, mate. I think the last time was with Bassett in the semi-final. People get excited because of this win when we're like 10 points behind them in the league, mate. So for me, I was super frustrated. I was super angry with these players again. letting us down, absolute shite bag. So there's no way the podcast would have been banned from YouTube if I came on after last week, mate. So that's all I want to say about the match. Look, second half was a bit more spirited, bit of a better performance, but it was too late, mate. You were down to 10 men. Asgard was an idiot. Why he came on as sub last night, I'll never ever know. We'll get to that point, but the whole situation, we let ourselves down badly in the first half, gave ourselves too much to do. Very spirited comeback in the second half, deserved to get the equaliser, and then the players ran out of steam. But overall, very disappointing. Another big game, Gary, and very, very disappointing, mate.
And we won't dwell on that game on Sunday because we've got enough to dwell on in terms of the last night's performance. So that was just to give Ricky his chance. That platform, well, he was feeling calmer, a little more composed. So, and with us, I was going to say with us in spirit, but actually probably with us in the comments is our leader, Scott. Scott is in New York at the moment, and he is still making the time to watch this podcast. And that's dedication for you. He was in a Rangers pub in the Big Apple last night watching the game, much to his family's discontent, but he didn't care. He was there to watch it. I don't know if he stayed to the end. We never heard much from him afterwards, but he is watching it, and he will be back on Monday. Or is he back Monday? Maybe next week.
He's maybe still there, Gary. He's maybe still in the bar. He's maybe still in the bar in New York.
Stick in the comments, Scott, if you're going to be back Monday, so we remember, because we can't remember. So it's good to have you watching it all the way from America, Scott, and enjoy this show. So let's talk about the game, William. Right, there was 4 changes to the team that lost to Celtic. They were Cornelius. I'm sorry, I'm giving out. Cornelius, Dio, Danilo, and Asgard went out, and then came Max Aarons, Conor Barron, Mikey Moore, and Gassama, whatever it is you call them. In terms of team lineup, still the 3-5-2 formation or whatever type of it is, 5-3-2, whatever way you want to call it. Were you happy enough with the team? Anything you didn't like? And you thought should have been different?
Well, I wouldn't have had Jigo on the pitch. I'd have had Cornelius on, but I think Cornelius took a wee niggle at the end of the semi-final game, so I think that's the reason why maybe he was benched. That's what I was hearing when I was listening to a few things today from other podcasts. But I wouldn't have had Jigo near that pitch. He was terrible against the Emlet on the weekend, and I don't think he had a good game last night either. But just looking at the team, it's the problem for us is you're sitting there. It's a roll of a dice for these players, and that's the problem that Danny Rowe has as well. You haven't got a great bunch, and you're unfortunately he's trying to work stuff on. He's trying different tactics, different players, and hoping that something sticks for him. But I'll be honest, I wasn't looking forward to the match last night before it kicked off, and even looking at the time, I wasn't too confident. But I don't think there's much more he could have really done, mate, because there's nobody there that's playing good every single week that deserves a guaranteed start, probably apart from Butland, to be fair, a goalkeeper. Thank God he's been quite good this season. But yeah, mate, just looking at the team, I thought to myself, to say you could just sort of throw anyone in there. That's the mood at the minute, Gareth, and being honest. I'm trying to go and try and be positive as the show goes on, but it wouldn't really matter for me who the hell we played yesterday. We got the sort of performance I was expecting, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I suppose the same with you, Ricky. I mean, Jiga's an interesting one. I thought he was like a rabbit in headlights first 15 minutes of the game against Celtic and last night, but he probably weirdly did then come on to a reasonable game both times. But he starts like a nervous wreck and he looks all over the place, and certainly the first goal was partly to do with his trying to get rid of the ball like a hot potato.
Yeah, but if Cornelius has took a knock, and then obviously he doesn't trust Fernandez and he doesn't trust Enciala, so the options are very limited, Gary. I mean, I think I like Rowe as a manager, but I think he's made mistakes against Celtic and Roma. But where I will let him off is I think he's only just in the door. He's trying different. You can tell that he changed formation against Celtic, but we were down to 10 men, and he changed formation against Roma at half time because basically he wanted to get more bodies up front. I don't like this. I like 3-4-3, but I don't like us starting with 5 defenders. I think it's too much of an imbalance in the team. I think when you've got 5 defenders starting, and then you have Raskin and Barron, that's 7 defensive players, and then it only leaves you 3 attacking players. And I don't think that's enough. I think you struggle, like you're sitting back, just waiting to concede. And don't get me wrong, I mean, Roma were that our squad is so bad. We've signed 13 players, and I'm struggling to see one that is an upgrade. So we can sit here and dissect the team, and I agree with William. Oh, we should have picked this guy. We should have done this. We should have done that. At the end of the day, Roma again wanted it more than us. Celtic wanted it more than us. We can't defend the set piece. So no matter what your formation is, no matter how many players you pick in defence, how many players you pick in attack, a simple they scored exactly the same goal as Celtic did, Gary. It's unbelievable, mate. Since Rose came in, every single goal we concede is our leadership group. We have the worst leadership group in European football, mate. And it's basics. It's a ball into the near post. Why Raskin is defending the near post, I'll never know. We've got big players in our team, and they're just standing together in a bunch in the middle, which is unbelievable. And that sets the tone. You go 1-0 down to a team like Roma, and they've got the experience. They just kept the ball again for the second goal. Blah blah blah. It's not good enough, Gary Whitman. And so we can speak about players in the team. Should have picked this player. Should have picked that player. But if the desire's not there and you can't defend set pieces and you're just going to give away silly goals like we do, then no matter what formation Roll picks. And Dundee, by the way, let me say this right now, last point. Dundee will be very difficult. You know what's going to happen on Sunday, by the way. It's going to be like a washing machine for the first 20 minutes of that game at Dens Park. It's going to be helter-skelter. Every time we play up there, they just come for us right away. That first 20 minutes, Simon Murray, high ball. So we're going to have to be ready for that.
Yeah. So I suppose first 10 minutes, William, we actually started all right. There was nothing exciting. There was nothing really happening in the game. And then as we say, we give away a cheap corner. Cheap corner gets crossed in. Magoma and Raskin for, I think, maybe third or fourth time I've seen this happen already. Get beaten to the ball. The guys get a run and start, jumps up, wins the ball, heads it to the back post, and there's like three of them there waiting to tap it in. All too easy.
It's schoolboy defending. It's Irish League defending. So it is, to be honest with you. That's what Rangers do. And I'll tell you now, see in the Irish League, all we do, only thing we're good at is set pieces, corners. That's where all the goals come from. So they're no good at the ball at their feet. But I'll tell you one thing, it would be enough to get goals off this Rangers side at the minute because they are weak as pish. And it's the same old nonsense all the time, guys. And that's what I said, sitting there with Baz and my dad and stuff, watching the match. And as soon as they got that set piece, he says, where do you see us here? Watch us here. Again, and I knew what was going to happen. Now, I thought maybe we'd get a chance. Maybe we wouldn't concede, but I knew there was going to be a free header in there somewhere. And there it was, tapped in, back post. They were all like, we just left these players. As Ricky says, most of our leadership group, as they call themselves, are all based in the defence. And it's the worst defence I've seen the Rangers team for a long time. And I've seen some bad ones. This is getting the Pedro stages of nonsense, to be honest, at Rangers Football Club right now. And it set the tone then, mate. As you say, and that's how bad it is for us at Rangers, Gary. We didn't have a bad 10 minutes just because nothing happened in the game. But that's a positive for us now as podcasters because that's all you can look for. Well, at least we haven't conceded yet, but we haven't produced anything going forward. But once that goal went in, you were panicking stage then, Gary, because you're thinking, geez, you're 1-0 down already. We could be annihilated here. But one saving grace for us, I think, was that Roma didn't need to get out of second gear the whole night. They got their 2 goals and they were happy enough just to coast through the match. It ended up a wee bit like a training game, I thought, actually, for them.
Yeah, I did. It slowed it in. I suppose I'll get your thoughts, actually, because I remember this, obviously the Tifo volume was probably the best thing at the start of the game. It was an outstanding Tifo, one of the best ones you've probably seen. Really well done. I think Danny Rowe was out helping build it as a day, apparently during the day. It looked great. It's certainly up there with one of our most positive ones. Then the game obviously started and then ruined that. But your thoughts on the Tifo?
I thought it was absolutely amazing, and because the Rangers supporters are amazing, and I thought that was absolutely class. They're using the pulley thing now, so we're going to hopefully see that a lot more often now, especially in European nights. But look, these players before, like Max Aarons and stuff, says, well, when those fans when they're really hard on us, it's hard to play when they're the pressure. Fuck me, what more could they want? They got cheered on, literally, it was amazing atmosphere. And they couldn't put the performance in then. So what's the next excuse? You know what I mean? But I thought the Tico was absolutely fantastic. The fans were absolutely fantastic and fair play because the Rangers fans want something to believe in. They really want it to work, and it's just sad when you see the team, the state that's in at the minute, mate. And as you say, Gary, I think it was just very lackluster, wasn't it? Atmosphere wise, but the fans tried their best at the start, and the tifo was absolutely fantastic. But unfortunately, the team just don't have the same spirit as the fans do.
So I think we then have, I'm trying to remember the game off the top of my head, but I think we then have a chance. Sharmiti, Ricky runs down the wing, he probably takes it still a wee bit wide. Decent effort, goal, but goes by the post. I suppose it's probably a good time to talk about him because everybody wants to talk about him, the £8 million signing, who, in my opinion, done a lot of things right in the game in terms of hold-up play, running, movement, heading, but it doesn't look like he should, basically.
I think he needs all. You know who he reminds me? He reminds me of Big Sadiq. Remember Sadiq? There might be a player in there, Gary. So it's not a case of giving up on him. But I tell you what, mate, and I know fans are going to go nuts in the comments. I would get that kid out on loan in January and send him to. But if Braga are interested in him in Portugal, I think that would be a great loan move for him. Give him to them for 18 months and let them polish him up, because he's going to sink at Rangers, mate. Our fans are absolutely brutal. You saw it with the second chance when he missed it. They were starting to boo him, and they boo him, but give him a bit of stick. Like you heard like that. Oh, for F's sake, it's and that's just the way the fans are. So there might be a player in there, mate. There might not, but for right now, him and Felwell, honestly, mate, I cannot believe that guy knew how long he was getting the Rangers job, mate. And every single player he has signed is not what we needed for this season. He couldn't have done a worse job if he guessed with this championship dross he's brought into the team, and Sharmiti from Everton, mate. And the problem for Sharmiti is the big problem for him is Miovski's even worse. So we've spent money on Miovski. We need one of them to be like Danny Rowe needs a striker. Danilo can't play on his own. Danilo's fine in a 2. So you basically have to play 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, whatever it is, right? You've got to play that formation because you've got to play 2 strikers unless you go 4-4-2. But our defence is not good enough to play 4-4-2, mate, right? So, because Danilo needs a partner. But Sharmiti and Miovski, you're playing both of them, and it's just nothing. You can see by how many goals they've scored, Gary. We're into November. I think Sharmiti scored 1, is he? And then Miovski's just at 2. It's absolutely. I am surprised with Miovski. I thought we were getting a totally different player than the player. I thought at least he was a finisher, but he just looks like every match he's getting worse, and the confidence is drained out of him. Sharmiti just doesn't look like a striker at all, and we just have to limp on until January and hope we can get some wins in the league, mate. But the first thing we need to sign in January is a striker, along with a whole new defence, mate. But with Sharmiti is we need to send them on loan. For me, we can't continue. I would love to see him go on loan in January. I don't see the kid again for 18 months and let someone else deal with that problem. We've paid $8 million for him. Hopefully they can pay some of his wages and just let another team develop him, because he's not going to develop at Rangers, Gary. It's too big for him. The crowd is going to be on his back. It's only going to get worse for him. So for me, Alan's put in the comments, Dessers on loan. I knew you'd bring that up, man. And he's absolutely loved, and he's a Greek god now, mate, Alan. So he's not coming back to Rangers. Oh, some of the fans were abusing him, mate. I've no idea who that was. So He's definitely not coming back to Rangers.
I think I'll stick with the strikers then for you, William. So it is an interesting one, right? So 2 points. One, I think I said before we started to come on here, if I'm right, we played a front 3 of an 18-year-old and 2 21-year-olds, which is in a high-level European game doesn't really lend itself well to. I suppose what you had with Dessers and Cherny, they'd experienced it, they knew how to play the game. We've got guys that are learning their trade, and they may turn out to be good players, all of them in their own right, but at the moment they're not ready to play as a front 3, basically.
No, and it comes down to what Ricky's just said there. Thelwell has literally destroyed, put Rangers back a long way here. And don't get me wrong, I don't say you can't have young players, but we should have had the experience brought in first. We're doing this arse about face. We're bringing in kids with no experience, with no leaders in our team. and throwing them to the wolves, as Ricky says. They're getting, the pressure and they can't hack it. However, if you had brought in experienced players first at the start and got yourself sort of, build this bit of a spine there, and then looked at January to bring in these younger players in, and then you've got guys in there with experience who can sort of grab them, during a game and go, keep going, son, keep going, whatever, and giving them that bit of confidence. But as you say there, Guy, when you think of the ages, and you're putting all these young guys in, and as Ricky says, Rangers is the best club in the world when it's going good, and it's the hardest club in the world when it's not going good, and the Rangers fans are fed up, and unfortunately the likes of Chermetti there, he didn't ask to be, for the price, at the end of the day it was Thelwell decided to spend it. And what scares me is, in January, as you say, we need to bring in probably recruits in, but do we trust Kevin Thelwell to give him any more money to bring these recruits in, because he's already spent, £40 million, I think 20 of it's net, but he's probably spent £40 million to make this team worse than it was last season, and last season it wasn't good enough either, but somehow we've got worse. So I don't know if I could trust him to spend the money again, but we just don't have that balance right up front at all, mate. And you can see by the stats, if you look at Europa League and in the SPFL, we just don't score enough goals, and we concede a lot. And if you concede a lot of goals and you don't score too much, that's why you sit 36th out of 36 in Europa League, and why you're struggling in the Scottish Premiership.
Yeah, and I think when I see some people in the comments, when we do talk about the experience that we did buy, so Miovski's 26, I can't remember off the top of my head, Joe Rothwell 30, Max Arians 25, I think, so we did bring in some experience, but sadly they've underperformed badly. And what you're then doing, you are playing the younger ones, so you've got McGoma at 19, so because you don't know a left back, you've got, was it Raskins 24, Barnes 23, Deals 23. I'm trying to work out the age of the teams. So many, it's such a young team that when the chips are against them, they just can't deal with it.
Yeah, no, it's you can see it, Gary. I mean, you're on about the tifo and the singing before the match and stuff like that, but the players just go into their shell, and I think the fans have been fair with them since Roll came in. You can't blame the fans. Listen, the fans were up for the game on Sunday against Celtic, so that first half, it was not the Rangers fans that made Jigga kick the ball 30 feet in the air out into the touchline and then fall on his arse the next time the ball came near him, and get absolutely bullied by a Celtic reserve team. They can't blame the supporters for that. The supporters turned up, got behind the team in the first half, got behind the team in the second half. So all this, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. The professional footballers, like Max Aarons has played in the Premier League, for God's sake, and some of these other, Rothwell came in with this huge reputation. So it's absolutely, they're just no gelling together, and I feel sorry for Danny Rowe, because I see fans giving him some stick today and I find that absolutely baffling. Like, you can maybe have a go at him for little, but he's going to he has to make mistakes, Gary. He's got to change formations. He's got to try different players. What I will say though is, I think for Rowe it's going to be important to get this win on Sunday, and then after the international break, keep that going, mate. And he's got to give other players an opportunity now, because we've seen these players and they've let us down badly, like your Asgards, who are, by the way, for £4 million is an absolute joke. And there's other players in that team that have been given ample opportunity. So now it is time to give, like, your Cameron a chance, your Curtis a chance, Bazrami a chance, maybe Enciala, Fernandez. You've got to give everyone in the squad an opportunity, because can these guys do any worse than what we're watching with the players that are getting all these opportunities? And there's a lot of mad rumours out there of conspiracy theories that Thelwell's picking the team and Rowe just sits there like a wee boy in the corner. I think that's absolute nonsense, by the way, and I'm surprised even some podcasts are speaking about it. But it is, when you see people are starting to go, oh, why does he keep playing Shermitty? Why does he keep playing Asgard? Why does he keep playing this player, that Jigga? Like, players like that, so now he has to give other people an opportunity, and they cannot do it any worse than the players that have been in that team, Gary. We've got some, no game on paper for us is a friendly game just now, by the way. I laugh when I see people going, okay, we've got Livingston, Dundee, these sort of teams, Falkirk coming up, man. These teams have got the ability to absolutely rip this Rangers team to shreds. By the way, our start to the season was a gimme start to the season, and we didn't win any of the matches for God knows how many, the first 5 or 6, whatever it was. So it's going to be an interesting and a very, very important few weeks for Rowe and the squad of players, mate, because this can go toxic again. And it's not against Rowe, it's against Felwell and Stewart, but the toxicity is still there. And we don't want that, Gary. We need to get some wins on the board. I don't think this team has got any chance of winning the league, me personally. Even though the league is going to be bonkers this year, I just think our squad has regressed. I think Super Ali summed it up quite well on TNT Sports over the last few matches he's done. He's coming up from England, watching it from afar, and he can see, what am I watching here? So that's how much Felwell damage he's done to the squad, and it's going to take a few windows, and I'm very concerned going into January if we're going to allow these people who did this in the summer to go and do the same again in January. To give them another 20 million for me would be absolutely bonkers.
I'll stick with that one. There wasn't that much happened in the Roma game, so I'll stick with that volume. I'm interested because I don't think, and when you look at when they start the season, all their pedigree, all the players they've signed, their internationals, their under 19 internationals, under 21 internationals. Rothwell was one of the best players in the championship, etc., etc., etc. But it's the wrong players in the wrong positions at the wrong times. I think as Terry to talk squad building, the squad building has been bizarre to say the least. Miofsky and is never a lone striker himself. He's not. He doesn't work that way. We just see Rothwell was at number 6. Magoma's a wing back at best. It was bought to be a left back. The whole squad building, as opposed to picking individual players, it's just not really worked in terms of how what they bought and why they bought.
We're talking about squad building, and we played 5 defenders, and as it stands, not a single one of them is going to be at Rangers Football Club at the start of next season. What is going on at Rangers? Who has allowed this lunatic to come in and build this squad? I know we're laughing, because if you didn't laugh, you'd be on here crying. It's crazy. You have Tavernier, who's, in my opinion, that he needed replaced a year or two ago. And I'm not coming on here to slag him. I'm just saying it happens.
It's just off volume. That's how this works.
But you get to a certain age, Gary, as he's just not, and we know the crack, and we haven't been able. We've tried to replace him last season, and due to injuries and stuff, with Sterling and stuff, it couldn't work. This season he's still playing. You've got John Suter there, who's, in my opinion, is nowhere near good enough, but he's still there, obviously, but his contract's running out. And then you have 3 loan players that aren't going to be there next season and are only using, but they're Rangers basically just to get a bit of experience to go back to their parent club. So, you talk about squad building, and the first thing you want to do is, with any team, is make yourself hard to beat. But before we talk about January or next season, you're going to have to rip that whole defence and start again. With no recognised left back at our club, we let 3 of them go, Gary. And I just can't understand it, mate. We just haven't. If you look player for player, I don't think we've actually improved the team that much. If you're looking, even the likes of Dessers there, and don't get me wrong, if you're looking at Dessers' age and you're thinking, right, you've got 3 or 4 million, whatever it was, it's a good time to sell, and that's fair. But you can't replace someone like Dessers with a young player for 10 million, 8 million pound, who is nowhere near ready. And Felwell has to be asked these questions, and Andrew Calvin, if he wants to let more of his money be wasted here in January in the next window, then he'll keep Felwell in place. But unfortunately for us, Felwell's brought the likes of his son in. I think he's bringing a coach in from Wolves that he worked with before. He's got Daniel Purdy, so he's surrounding himself with all his men, and it's going to be hard to get rid of all them guys. But we just may hope that he gets it right in January. But if you're looking at the squad that we've built so far, Gary, it's hard to have any confidence, isn't it?
I think that's the biggest issue in it. We don't have a lot of confidence in what can be built. As I said, I'm not convinced any of them are particularly bad players, but they just don't fit the right profile, the right system, the right plan for what should have been looking for as you start a new rebuild. It should have been, I think it's shown this season in the comments, should have built from the defence, bought a proper structure, and then worked your way forward, not just buy a whole pile of talented individuals that then you're not able to form into a team. I think, Ricky, so as we lose the second goal, it's a pretty basic goal. The midfield stands off, the guy plays the ball over the top. John Suter looks about to see where he is. He's got the ball and he rolls it in. A nicely weighted pass into theirs. I can't remember their midfielder's name, who rolls it in. It's a nothing goal. Easy, far too easy, and the game's effectively done.
I was driving my mate's dumper truck. I don't know if you've ever driven a dumper truck before on his farm last week, and I called it John Suter because I couldn't turn the thing. It wouldn't move. It's like a thing you put loads of bushes in, and then you get it wouldn't turn. And he's like, "What's a John Suter? What's a John Suter?" And I was like, "Oh, don't worry, mate. It's this shit defender we've got that plays for Rangers." And honestly, he gets away with murder, John Suter. By the way, how he's not getting dropped, like the amount of goals he loses for us in half a sleep. He's all over the place as a Rangers defender. Like he came in as a third, fourth defender, and suddenly he's like supposed to be our best defender, just because he plays amazing for Scotland when they're getting absolutely pumped with Steve Clarke's dinosaur tactics. So suddenly with Rangers, he's supposed to be the same Colin Hendry, Braveheart with John Suter. Honestly, I think the guy's brain dead. I know he's from Brecon, which is close to my neck of the woods. So how he, every single match, there's a mistake in him. And he may defend okay for 80 minutes, but you get 10 minutes of him where he's all over the place. And every single match he costs us either a big chance, a goal, and just pick up your man. Him and Tav speaking to each other, and I think someone put a good point on X as well. Every time we lose a goal, right, there's nobody takes accountability. Everyone looks at every other player like, "Oh, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault." It's like a cartoon, your fault, your fault. It's not, it's his fault, it's his fault. It's absolutely pathetic. They go in the dressing room. I saw Butland get an interview today and about this sleepover, which is brilliant for the charity and stuff like that. But he's getting asked about his form this season, and these players are absolutely deluded. Butland has been good this season because our defence is so bad, and he's made so many great saves. But let's not forget, he threw one in against Kilmarnock. He cost us. He made some big saves in the cup final last year. But when Gorham was making massive saves in Old Firm games, he made massive saves for 90. Bang in the middle of the goals, right in the centre of the goals, underneath the bar, and suddenly, like, it was a rocket. It wasn't a rocket. Butland dove. Okay, could they see it? He dove right past it. And this is our leadership group. Nobody takes responsibility. And if I'm a young player in that dressing room and I'm looking at that, I'm looking at these guys thinking, you sold the goal last week. You were the one that were at fault for the goal. You were at fault. Even Raskin, like you said, for the first goal. If I'm a young player, I'm looking at, Jesus, this is our leadership group. Are you having an absolute laugh? They're the worst players in the team. So I just think the whole squad needs absolutely dismantled, Gary, and start again. And I wouldn't be offering any new contracts to any player. I'd be selling Raskin, by the way, in January, 100%. Why he's still got bought, but Nicholas will be doing somersaults in the hingy, saying, "Oh, finally they're on my camp." But no, I think Raskin is. I don't know if he's checked out or he's just living on this reputation with Belgium. But I just don't see that he's influencing games the way that we need him to influence games. And for me, he's not going to sign a new contract. We know that we're asking him to move from nothing. So for me, you've got to sell him in January and use that money to try and rebuild. And I see we're getting linked with defenders for €9 million and everything, Gary. That scares the absolute living death out of me, mate. I don't want us to be spending €9 million euros and trusting Farewell to spend €9 million on any player, mate. I want them to just find good players that fit into a proper system for a role. It's not about spending 9 million, 10 million. It's not about that. It's about finding the correct players that role can work with and build and mould into a team the way that he was able to do at Sheffield Wednesday, because that's what we need.
So I'm going to come to Raskin William in a minute and some of this. So half time comes, McGoma goes off, we bring on Asgard, and Aarons goes to left back. So that, I suppose, I was thinking about this. That's 2 games in a row. We went effectively to a 4-3-2 or a 4-3-3, obviously down to 10 men on Sunday. But both times, in my view, we've looked like a better side. And I'm not a huge fan of this 3-5-2. I don't think it suits the players we've got. Also means we're not playing a lot of width. We're not able to attack, as Ricky said earlier on. I think it's an issue for me that the tactics with the players that we have, we shouldn't be. I mean, I get the first couple of games he was trying to be a bit more solid after the Brand game, but to me, we should be looking to go back to a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 or whatever you want to call that formation and try and actually a bit more dynamic and attacking.
Yeah, and when you're attacking, you're not defending, I suppose, is the old cliche. But I think the problem is, Gary, I actually think Danny Rose came into the squad and looked at his defence and went, "Fuck God, I need everyone back there. They are terrible. We are going to get a hell." You know, man, he's probably sitting there going, "If I go forward to back against Roma and Roma's on it tonight, we are going to get a tanking." You know, and I think that's what he's honestly worrying about. I think it was the same on the game on Sunday. I think it was this exact same mindset. It was like, let's not get beat and see if we can get a few chances. And it nearly worked, because even though we weren't great, we actually had 3 glorious chances in that first half and really should have scored at least 2 of them. And that's the problem that he has at the minute. But I know what you're saying, mate, and I agree with you. We did look better probably in the second half in both those games. But I think it's just a worry for him with his defence, that if I go forward to back, what's going to happen. But it maybe is time to try that again, but it's a hard one to say, but it worries me that Danny Rowe doesn't play normally 5 at the back. He didn't play 5 at the back much at Sheffield Wednesday, but that's a worry for me when he's come in and straight away he's went, right, we just need to flood this midfield or defence with bodies and try and stop conceding goals. That tells me that he's not impressed with who he's got there. But we've also got players like NCL and stuff, and I know he couldn't play in the European squad. I don't think he's in the European squad, but the likes of NCL, I'll be giving the likes of him a chance, because as Ricky said, they can't do any worse.
You're on mute, Gary.
Fireworks were going off outside there. I thought that was maybe in the background. So
excuses, man. Yellow card. Stop being. You're like a Rangers defender. Take responsibility.
So hopefully fireworks don't go any more there. What about you, Ricky? I'm genuinely not a huge fan of this 3-5-2. I get why you didn't those first couple of games. I think the Hibs game we got lucky, because Hibs probably deserved something from the game. Kilmarnock game we weren't great, but we got the result. I just don't think it lends itself to particularly getting results, certainly domestically, as we move to these games. You talked Dundee, Falkirk, Livingston game. 3-5-2 to me isn't going to cut it.
Here we go. Ricky the Dinosaur, 4-4-2, baby. Let's go. If Hearts can do it with Shankland and Braga, why can't Rangers do it? Hearts are playing 4-4-2. Derek McInnes, I watched his interview flying back to work a couple of days ago. He did with open goal, and it was brilliant. He spoke amazingly, he says. And we would have been the same if we signed Shanklin. Shanklin can't play on his own as a lone striker. You need to get pace and you need to get players around him. So we should be trying that with Danilo. It's not a case of copying Hearts. Try it with Danilo. Get players around him. Maybe get Moore around him. Get Curtis around him. That's it. Get Moore around them. Maybe try Moore up front, and then go Curtis on the right, Curtis on the left and Ant-Man on the right. I wouldn't. Gassama for me, honestly, I think Gassama gets away with. I think that guy in domestically has been absolutely shocking, and because he scored a few good goals, I think he should be an impact sub. I think he's one of the players that's had an opportunity. Ample opportunity, and he's just not been doing it for Danny Rowe. So I would like to see 4-4-2, Moore and Danilo up front with Curtis on the right. Curtis on the left, Ant-Man on the right, and then Raskin and Barron in midfield, and then have your 4 in defence. But the problem is, Gary, and it's a massive problem, is we are shit in defence, and that's what he's scared about. I would never like to see us. If we line up on Sunday with 5 defenders, with a 7-3, with the 5 defenders and the 2 midfielders in front, which will be Raskin and Barron, and then only 3 attackers, then Rowe deserves everything he gets, because we'll draw the match and it'll be mayhem next week. So for me, I would like to I don't want us to go to 4-2-3-1, because we don't have a striker that can play. You're going back to Shermiti playing up front. And we need a striker to take. Last year, Dundee's going to be a tough game, mate. Last year we beat them 3-2. We scored in the last minute. I can't remember who scored in the last minute. Who was it again?
This was it? Great finish. Great finish. One of the best goals of the season.
Gary, he missed about 15 chances and then scored in the last minute.
He used to create 15 chances. Remember those days when strikers used to create all these chances himself?
Nicholas is saying in the comments about Raskin. I would maybe. I don't disagree with that. I'd maybe take Raskin out of the team if it was going to be Cameron that was coming in for him. Keep Barron, Cameron, and try that in the middle of the park. But I'd like to try something different, very different, and do something like that. I don't want us to be too defensive, and I don't think 4-2-3-1 works with the players we've got. But I think we could try 4-4-2, because you have to get players up with Danilo. You can't play Danilo as a lone striker. He's just not, and he's our only striker that's really a little bit for him. So hopefully Danilo's dad's back from Brazil just to give the team the Copeland nutter the Brazilian Copeland nut on his back just to get a bit of the old cheerleading going, and then we can get a good win on Sunday. But try something different, Gary, because we're speaking about formations and stuff like that. But I'll say again, if you can't defend set pieces, if you give Dundee a 2-0 start, because Dundee are going to come out with it. Honestly, Simon Murray, high balls. Remember last year, they absolutely battered us for about the first 25 minutes until the game settled down, and it'll be the same again. So the players have to be ready for that. And that is my worry with this team, Gary. When we speak about leadership group, I don't think the leadership group even speak to the players and tell them what to expect. I think the players will just walk onto the park and everyone just thinks that everyone knows what's going to happen. And what I'm saying will happen. It'll be like a washing machine for the first 20 minutes. So the players have to be ready for that.
Yeah, and we'll come back to team lineups in a little bit more depth in a moment or two. I mean, just to kind of finish on the Roma game. So the second half, there's not much happens, William. I watched the highlights back, and fun enough, when I was there, it felt boring, it felt dull, it felt pretty bland. You're sitting there waiting for the game to finish. Watched the highlights. We actually had a few chances, a few moments, but never really looked like doing anything.
No, it was as you said, we had a few half chances, but really, I think the Roma manager maybe at halftime maybe just stepped out and put his pipe and slippers on, because that game, he knew that game was gone. I think their team, you could see it. If they wanted, say we had got one of those goals, Gary, honestly, I think Roma would have went, okay, we need to go up a few gears, and then you're talking 3 or 4. That's my opinion. I think they were just happy at 2-0, and I think Rangers as a team were sort of half happy as well, going, as long as it doesn't get any worse. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, we had a few. But if Roma felt threatened, like properly threatened at any moment in that game in the second half, honestly, I think they could have stepped up a few gears, and that's what was a sad thing, because even though we haven't had a great team the last few seasons, we always fought like mad, especially at Ibrox in the European games, and it was a bit of a damn squib, mate, at the end,
So just on this then, so I say to you, we played Olympiacos this time last year, Conference League winners. We drew one each and missed all sorts of chances. I remember rightly, second half we were the better team. The team lineup that night was Butland, Sterling, Robin Proper, as we called them, Suter and Yefte, Raskin and Barn in the middle of the park, and then Bajrami in the left, Dio in the middle, and Cherny in the right, and Dessers up front. Now that's but 4 or 5 already that are still there. A couple we've got in the squad that aren't even getting anywhere near the team, and playing a far, far better performance than we actually imagine to put in the now against teams that probably aren't as good. So Sturm Graz, Bran, who was the other one in the group that we played already, the Genk. I mean, these are teams that a team that shouldn't be much better on paper, were swatting away quite easily.
Is that me for me, Gary? Sorry, yeah, but also, and you're right. But mate, I honestly think this team's just destroyed. Even the players that we have now, the likes of Raskin looks totally uninterested. He looks like he would rather be anywhere else than at Ibrox. And I think a lot of them are just, especially with the Russell Martin situation as well. And that was a car crash, as we know. And Danny Rowe, for a play, came in, got a wee bit of a manager's bounce with the 2 league games, but it just looks like we've got nothing really there. And at least the likes of Big Dessers, as you say, he created his own chances, but we don't create chances now for ourselves. We have the likes of Cherny and stuff as well, who could do something, a wee bit of individual brilliance there, and we don't have that now. We've lost that big time. The likes of Tav, even as well. He was in that team you're talking about there. He's another year on his legs as well. He looks, if you even look at the likes of the interviews that Tavernier done before playing them in the semi-final, and John Suter, the both of them were hunched down, shoulders down, mumbling into the mic, and you're sitting going, "Fuck me, can you speak up, please? You're representing Rangers Football Club here in a press conference." They just seem like they're done, mentally done, and just want to be anywhere else but here. And I think that's what the major problem is, and it's a problem for Danny Rowe as well, because he's probably trying to get that eagerness in there, but I just think some of them there are mentally somewhere else and not at the club, and that's another thing. It's not going to help us.
Yeah, I was watching. I don't know, and just to pick on Tav there, he played 120 minutes. One of 3 players played 120 minutes on Sunday, and then had to play the 90 minutes last night. And he's probably the only one running in the left wing to try to get something happen. I think it's quite embarrassing as a club that the last, I don't know if you see it, but the last 10 minutes I was watching him, he looked physically exhausted. He could barely move anymore. I'm thinking,
but Gary, one thing about Tav that you could never swag him off for, mate. The guy is always fit and he's like Duracell bunny. Like, I mean, we can have a go at him for like his defending and stuff like that, but one thing you can never have a go at him for. I remember last year, and we've been better this year with injuries. This squad is the squad is shite, but they're always fit.
They're all fit.
we need a few of them to get injured so we can get Baz Rami, and that's a joke, by the way, before people go nuts in the comments. But one thing about Tav is it's just mental, mate. He plays.
He shouldn't have to play, but that's what 13 games in a row he's played.
He is still our most important player, and that's how bad, and that's like Tav always gets it in the neck, right? But against Celtic, he was our best player. Like he is still our most important player, and that is just mental. He's going to make mistakes. He's made mistakes all through his 10 years. He can't defend. His defending's awful, but as a player, he's still our most. If you take him out of that team, then we'll be looking, especially just now until we get to probably the summer. If you take him out of that team like we did at the start of the season, fans want him back in the team because the team, like even for everything about Tav, is the team is just devoid of leadership, man. It's so bad. Suter is so far from being a leader. It's absolutely credible. William's a great guest. He speaks so much sense. It's incredible. And I love what he said there about the interviews because little things like that matter. And when John Suter did that interview and he's standing there like, honestly, Big John Coffey from Shawshank Redemption, man, the brain is like, it's absolutely incredible. You're representing Rangers Football Club. At least look like you're interested. It's no our fault you're not getting a new contract. That's your fault for the way that you've been playing for the last 2 seasons. You keep giving away goals all the time. So at least you're contracted till the end of the season. At least be professional, give your all, and stop making mistakes every game.
Yeah, aye, and I think there's a lot of comments about we need to move on. I think the point we're trying to make is we should be able to move on. We should have to get. He's played about 13 games in a row. He's probably played more minutes than MD in the last 13 games.
That's the point. I'm not cheerleading for the guy. I'm saying that we brought in Max Aarons to replace him. Say in the comments, who do you want to play on Sunday? Do you want to play Max Aarons against Dundee, or do you want to play Tavernier? And that's our recruitment is absolutely brutal. Sterling will come back in, and Sterling can maybe play right back, but Sterling will be injured again before he'll come back on the 29th, and he'll be injured on the 31st. That's the way Sterling is. So that, like Tav has to play every single 3 days because there's nobody that can play better than him in the defence, and that the recruitment has been so bad that we're still in that position 10 years later.
No, 100%. I think that's a challenge. Sorry, Bob, you going to say something?
That's good. Well, number one, I'm going to crop and save that bit part of the video where Ricky says I talk a lot of sense. I'll be showing that to the missus later. Point number two, Tavernier, just before we go off Tavernier, and I'll say I'm not slagging the guy, I'm just saying this is where Rangers go wrong and where Celtic do things a lot better. Did you see? Now, you remember the goal they scored? It was lucky enough it was offside, that quick free kick they took. And how many times did they took quick throw-ins as well against us? Because they're always switched on. They're throwing it in. They're taking free kicks. What do Rangers do? It doesn't matter if the ball goes left wing. It doesn't matter if it goes out right wing. It's wait there. Wait till the captain comes. Wait till Tavernier. Everything's slow. You're waiting for Tavernier to trot along to take this throw in, and he's putting it on his chest. He's rubbing it down, and he's throwing it in to absolutely nobody because they can't win fucking headers. And then I'm saying to myself, it's the same rinse and repeat. Corners, Tavernier, free kicks, anywhere, it doesn't matter where they are on the pitch, Tavernier. And I'm sitting going, why does nobody else have the responsibility to go into that team and just grab the ball and say, right, we need to get it, we're in, throw it, everyone steps back and leaves it for Tavernier to take the responsibility because they know he's the one probably in the main that's going to take most of the brunt of the anger of the fans, and this is the problem with this team. Nobody wants to step up and take leadership because they're happy for others to take it for them. They don't want to pass forward when the option's there. They would rather pass it back because none of them want to take responsibility to make something happen.
So we'll come to the Dundee game preview. That I just want to pick up. We've talked a little bit about Thelwell and Stewart and things like that as we do every episode. And I'm a bit fed up with it sometimes because nothing's going to change immediately. But there was obviously banners that went up, and there was a few chants of Thelwell, away you go, and Stewart, away you go. I think obviously since Russell Martin's gone, the ire has turned to them. The only thing that stops that is results and winning games, Ricky. But it doesn't. That's not going to go away anytime soon. As we talk about all the time, recruitment's been bad, decisions have been bad, but we're continually looking like a team in decline as opposed to a team on the way up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought the more interesting was Kavanagh's face when he was watching the match. I don't know if you saw that in the highlights,
No.
Gary. You maybe seen it in the papers today. He was sitting next to Patrick Stewart, and Patrick Stewart looked like a naughty school kid. For me, mate, Patrick Stewart's he doesn't talk well enough to be the CEO, especially you've got that little weasel Willie call him. You imagine him sitting in a meeting with Patrick Stewart with that accent going on about, oh yeah, like I can't even do it, man, that weird Aberdeen accent, and little Willie's there going, oh, sorry, apology to Rangers again, Patrick, I'm so sorry, and it's just absolutely, he's not the person that should be representing Rangers. He should be replaced, and I hope that Farewell is working on that. Sorry, not Farewell, I hope that Kavanagh's working on that in the background. Now, I mean, we'll have to find out what's going on with this recruitment team, because at the end of the day, it's Kavanagh's money. And if I hope this is not debt getting put onto Rangers, by the way. This 20 million net that was spent in the summer better not be debt that's getting saddled onto Rangers, because these guys, that should be coming out of his own money that he put into the club, not Rangers have to pay for this, and okay, you'll maybe write off the debt later down the line. That should be coming out of Kavanagh's pocket, because he's made an absolute arse of this. He stood up going on about his bad jokes about low blocks and all that nonsense in the summer, and told us that he was going to trust him. They knew how to run sports franchises. Rangers is an institution and a completely unique sports franchise. Glasgow is one of the greatest cities in the world, and the people in Glasgow, that's what make Glasgow one of the most special places that it is. And until you're actually in that and breathing that and stuff like that, then it's very difficult to understand the club, Gary. And I just think that the guys have made an absolute mess of it since they've come in. It's all right for Parag Marat to be like Leeds United is his baby, and Rangers is like his toy that he sort of keeps an eye on from afar. Kavanagh's a lot more involved, but they need to make sure that they have. For me, Kavanagh should be spending a month at Rangers in the lead up to January, especially in November, maybe December. He goes back to America with his family, but he should be overseeing this recruitment team, spending a bit of time day to day to see what they're actually doing, and have the confidence, because he's a clever guy. He's a billionaire. He knows what if you know football, you know football, and he should be confident that he's a way to give these guys money, and they're going to be finding the right players for Rangers. He should be saying, okay, what are you doing, guys? What's your job? What are you doing? What are you doing to Farewell? What's Farewell Junior doing? What's the other scouts doing? What sort of players are they bringing to the table? Speak to Danny Rose separate. And I know that's quite hard to do, because you shouldn't be going behind people's backs, but I think he has to be speaking to Rose separately to see, do you feel like you're getting backed properly from the recruitment team? And that's just where we are, Gary, because everyone has to be on the same page going into January. Because if we fuck this up in January with another 30 million, mate, we are absolutely screwed. Like, this is going to be, McCoy said, 3 windows. I think you can fix things quite fast. We're quite lucky that we've got 5-6 players that are on loan, because we can just give them back in the summer and then replace them. So that gives you a little bit of space in your squad and stuff like that. But how you're going to move on your Asgards and players like that are just never going to make it at Rangers. You're going to be moving on Asgard, you're going to be moving on Rothwell. Ant-Man looks like he's not got the heart to play for Rangers. All these players you've got to move on that you spent big money on, that are on big Rangers wages, which is always the problem when you need to move them on. It's going to be a huge few windows for these guys coming up.
So that probably moves as well. You want the domestic stuff again. Let's move on. So we've got a game on Sunday at Dens Park, which I'm going to. I mean, my daughter, so she'll hopefully in a wee cowshed there to go and watch that. Ironically enough, despite the fact that it's been a horrendous season now, we're 5 points behind Celtic. They're probably as poor a team as they've been in a number of years, and arguably, despite, and I'm discounting Hearts if anybody wants to complain and go in the comments, I think that they'll fall away as the season goes on. So our biggest rivals remain the one across the city. We domestically, if we can start to pick up results, we're probably still in a fight if we can get our act together there, despite the fact we've been so poor over the season. Do you disagree, William? I've seen Ricky shake his head.
That's what I'm laughing at, Ricky, straight away. See, to be honest with you, and I know you're saying there, Gary, sorry, they totally discrediting Hearts there. You're just like they're going to fall away. The only problem is I can't see us winning. We have to win a lot of games in a row, and they have to lose a lot in a row before we even think about getting anywhere near them. And as you said, mate, that team across the city are absolutely rank rotten. They're just as bad. I mean, it's two bad teams. I want to be positive to say I think I'm hoping that we can get something going. I'm a bit foolish. I thought the Hibs result, I was like, even though we weren't great, I was like, well, fair play. They proved that they can stand up there a bit of when the going gets tough, and we kept the clean sheet, and then sure, about 15 minutes into the Old Firm game, you're going, oh, for fuck's sake, they're shitting the bed again. For fuck's sake, that was just a fluke. That was a one off. But listen, if you go and beat Dundee, but how many times have we said this when we've had like 3 fixtures in a row? And we're like, see, right, look, lads, it's Levy's at Ibrox and Dundee away, and we've got these, and we never do it. We never get those 9 points. We always get 4, or if we're lucky, sometimes 5. But you would never get the full 9. But I hope this is, because I want to believe in Danny Rome, and I want him to do well. Ricky made a class comment there, and I agree with him, because I said the same to Baz earlier. I hope Andrew Cavan is going into Danny Rowe and saying, listen, you're a good coach. We know your credentials and stuff. What do you think of the squad that he built here for you with the money we've spent? He needs to ask him those questions. And I would say Danny Rowe will be very quick to say, why do you think I'm playing 5 at the back? What has this guy built you here with this money, But I hope we go to Dundee, mate. Of course I do, and hope we win, and hope it gives us something to believe in. But until they do it, it's hard to believe that it's going to happen, because I've been here for 3 or 4 seasons domestically when we've had 3 or 4 fixtures that we should be winning, and it never happens. There's always a nonsense somewhere, and hopefully that doesn't happen this time. But where's the evidence that it's not going to happen?
Well, that's the thing. It has to keeps repeating itself up to now. Sorry, I just seen this comment there where you're talking about Ricky. There's a admirers in there, I think, for your Sweat Hummel trackie, blue, was it? T-shirt twinned by heavy.
How have I got a spray tan? I live in Cyprus, you maniac, man. It's naturally a burnt. I'd never wear sun cream, so I'm naturally burnt to a crisp, mate. But listen, mate, you've stolen Martin O'Neill's DeLorean, and you think we've got a 9 in a row team with Gaza and Wildrup, and we can actually win 20 games in a row, mate. This team can't go 20 minutes winning a game of football, mate. How the hell are we supposed to get in the back into a title race? And listen, let's be honest, Gary. Barry Ferguson's team last year, let's go back to Barry Ferguson last season, who had a much better team. He had goals in his team. He had Egerman, who he told him everything he couldn't do. And he had the Prince Dessers up front, who he absolutely loved, with Czerny. But they were scoring goals, and still Ferguson couldn't win matches in a row. It was win one, get beat, draw, win, draw, lose. I think this squad of players, Gary, is 10 times worse than the squad of players we had last season, mate. So I love you and Cam's optimism, and I hope I'm proved wrong. But I don't think we can be looking at, okay, we've got Dundee coming up with them, we've got Falkirk, then we've got Livingston. We should be winning the games at Ibrox, but that win against Kilmarnock was our first win at Ibrox in like 3 or 4 months, mate. This team is brain dead. It's as brain dead a Rangers team as you will ever see. So I just think we need to take it game. It's not being negative at all, by the way. It's just we need to take it. We need to be realistic. You can't be sitting on podcasts going, we're going to win 10 games in a row and get back into a title race, and Hearts are going to crumble. Hearts are winning every week, mate. Celtic are absolutely poor, but Celtic have got who they've got on their side, and also they still get results domestically, as poor as they are. Like, that was a freak. They had a couple of freak results against Dundee, and Hearts beat them as well, which was a great result for Hearts. But Celtic have got that to go in a 4, 5, 6 game winning run. I just don't. This Rangers team, I'm not saying that it can't do it, but they've got to prove to us, Gary, that they have the capability to do it. I think, for just moving on to the team selection, I would like to see us get some energy in the team, right? So I think Barron has been really good this season. And I know people, again, it's a Rangers thing and a Scottish thing, will concentrate on what Barron can't do. He's no Pirlo. He's no Pirlo. He can't pass the ball like an Italian. But I tell you what, he gives you heart. He gives you guts. He gives you fight. The Italians were absolutely raving about him in the newspapers over there after his performance. He was the only player that they were commenting on that stood out like a little bulldog. So he was turning heads in Italy, mate. So if you can get Cameron beside him to get that, Moore's giving you good energy just now. So that's free. That's free. Danilo maybe up front as well. You need to get the players that are giving you energy into the team. Take Raskin out of the team. I've got no problem. Raskin doesn't deserve to be in the team. Diamande doesn't deserve to be in the team. They're giving you nothing. Asgard should not be near a squad for weeks. The only good thing about Russell Martin was when players pissed him off, he bombed them out for weeks and weeks, and that's what the role needs to do now. Why Asgard came on against it, I could not believe he came on that. Felwell must have been on the walkie-talkie, right? Bring on the Viking number 8, get him on. Which is no, but mate, honestly, we need to get energy in the team, and we've got players in the squad. Curtis will give you energy. They might not be absolutely as cultured as some of the other players in the squad, Gary, but these guys will give you energy, and that's what you need to beat teams like Dundee away. Falkirk, that's you need energy in the team. So for me, that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, that was about 6 or 7 players. I'm going to come at you, William. So you're starting 11. So I suppose first we talked a wee bit about formation alone. Would you stick with the 3-5-2 or 3 whatever? And what would your start 11 be?
It's a hard one. I think the problem is with see, if you go for the 4-4-2, you've got Tavernier and John Souters beside each other, and you know what happens when that happens. It's a fucking disaster most times. See, a part of me would be like maybe go for the 4-3-3, but then again, you know, it's. I'm worried about my defense. I'm doing Danny Rowe here. I'm thinking about my defense, never forgetting to put anyone up front. I think midfield, if I could just off the bat, I would definitely be putting Lyle Cameron and Connor Barron in there together. Walter Smith was the best for this. He had sexy players, the players that maybe wouldn't bust the gut, but they had that flair. But he had those Scottish players or the boys from here that would die for the badge and give you everything. And we're missing that big time, especially in the field. So I'll definitely have Lyle Cameron in there with Connor Barron. I'll be honest, I think Giga should be out of that defence completely. I would definitely, I would have NCL in there, to be honest. I would give him a chance. Can't see why not. Nobody else has proven. You know, how can these guys look at that team week after week and not think, how can I not get a chance in here? I can't do any worse. Gaffer, fuck me, put me in. That's what I'd be doing if I was them. I'd probably obviously keep Butland in goals. You probably are playing Tavernier at right back because, as Ricky said there before, you know, he's still your best option, which is crazy at this stage of his career, but it is the truth. I would probably maybe try and see Alan Cornelius, because I think Cornelius is decent. I'm not saying he's brilliant, but I think he's decent. And unfortunately, the boys around him either haven't been that great, but I think he's been a wee bit of a spark, but that's not loads of confidence there. Like, you know, start Magoma again at left back. Up front, the forward 3, it's a hard one because Danilo, as we know, can't play by himself. He needs someone with him. Chermiti is probably the only one that probably can play on his own as a lone striker. But then, if he, you know, already maybe get himself in a few positions, but he can't finish. So, you know, and I know, Ricky, you're saying about Kasama, he gets away with a lot, and I think you're right, mate. But also, look at the man. I would play him still on the left wing, but how many games has he been having to play at right wing back? He's been all over the place. He hasn't been settled for that long, you know. And a few times he was playing at left wing, I thought he was pretty decent. But I know you're gunning for me because you can't wait to get in there. I would still play Kasama. I know I'm sorry to say it, mate. I would, and I would maybe give like Samur, who I didn't rate, to be honest, at the start. I didn't think he was showing us enough. But I have to be honest. I'm honest enough. I can eat my words when someone, you know, turns it on. I would probably play him in the midfield, maybe in front of Connor Barron and Lyle Cameron, and I would give Ant-Man another chance in the right. But yes, there's people slagging me that could thank God I'm not the manager, and you know what, fair play, lads. Can't disagree, but again, it's a flip of a coin, you know, because as I say, it's a hard one to work out, but he'll stick with a 5 at the back, guarantee you, unfortunately.
Did Felwell text you that, team, mate?
I'm going to give my team right because I think that's so. I'd go Butland. I probably would have went with Aaron's if we were in an international break, but I think it will be Tav. Tav, Cornelius, Suter, and Aaron's left back. Because I think McGomez needs to be taken out of the team, to be honest with you. Midfield, I think it would be Barron and Diamande. And I'd go Gassama, Moore, Ant-Man, and Chermiti up front. I think if Ant-Man is main strength is crossing the ball, I'd rather have him than Miofsky or Dadil up front for there. So that would be my 4-2-3-1, get back to a more attacking lineup, and then hopefully see where we go from there. Score predictions then, Ricky.
I will go 2-1 Rangers, maybe 3-2 again. 2-1. I'll go 2-1 Rangers, and I think it'll be a tough game, mate. I think Dundee always give us a really tough game up at Dens Park with Cy Murray. You know what you're going to get, a lot of high balls into the box and stuff like that. So, but I'll say I'll be positive, and I'll say 2-1 Rangers, and we badly need a win going into that international break.
And yourself, William, score prediction, scorers.
Well, I was thinking either 2-1 or 3-2 as well, to be honest, because I know we'll leak goals. I'm just hoping we can score a few more. So because Ricky's went for 2-1, I'll go for 3-2. Goal scorers, God knows, it could be one of those ones where none of our strikers get a goal, but sure, that's the usual anyway. But as long as somebody gets the 3, that's the main thing. I don't care who.
And similar, I think the problem is we all think we're going to lose goals, which is the sad thing. So we need to score a couple to win the game. You're really looking, you've really got Gassama and Tav that have really scored any goals now. So I'm going to go 2-1 and go with Gassama and Tav, just because I think they're the top goal scorers, so may as well stick with them. So that is us coming to the end of the pod. William, do you want to give another shout out to for those that have joined us later on in the show to your podcast?
Yeah, I say Hands Across the Water, Northern Ireland-based Rangers podcast, and we're on the Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and all those places. We're 30,000. We're over 30,000 now on our Facebook, so it's a good wee community there, and it's everyone's. Like sometimes after a few bad defeats, they'll slag each other to death, but most times it's all good fun and everyone gets on with each other. So if any of you would like to join us on any of those channels, you'd be more than welcome.
Yep. And for us, obviously, please like, share, and subscribe as we do. We are also on Spotify. You can get us there, usually from the next morning. I think the show will be back on Tuesday. Scott sent me a message while we were on to say that it's Tuesday. I think we said we had agreed. Couldn't remember that, but he says we said that. I won't be here because I'm away for work, but Ricky and Scott should be back on then. And William, you might be invited back on again, seeing as there may be spaces on Tuesday night. So I think that's probably us for this evening. It's Friday night. Go away and enjoy your weekend, everybody, and we will be back next week, hopefully with something a bit less depressing than we've talked about the 45 minutes of tonight, and with a win and moving up the league table further. I don't think we can move up the league table, can we? We're third now. The best we can stay is third, I think.
Yeah.
With a win, so moving closer, hopefully, to some of our rivals. Maybe that's the best way to put it. So we will be back next week. Hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again. Cheers, but bye now.